What can I say? I'm this close to being defeated. There's a lot more to this job than meets the eye. Got a new fan, it's still not doing anything. When I try and flick the programmer on, it's tripping the RCD again! So now it needs a new programmer. It's almost 7:30. I'm gonna come back tomorrow. Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to this week's video. I hope you enjoy what I've got in store for you. Just want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who's interacting with the videos, everyone who's watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, positive or negative. It all adds to the algorithm, it all helps the channel and everything. So thank you everyone who is interacting. I just want to say, having had a look at my YouTube analytics, 67% of my watchers are not subscribed. So it would really help if you literally just take 5 seconds now to press the little subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. Don't worry, the video's not frozen. I was pausing for 5 seconds. I hope the rest of you guys did press the subscribe button. Let's get on with the video. Right, first job of the day. Tenants reported a leak coming from the condense. So they had a little bowl there which just collected a fair bit, but typical. Now that I'm here, nothing. Completely bone dry. Can't even feel any water or anything. Might just empty up the trap. Maybe that got a bit blocked up. Because outside, so it's just running in overflow, goes down there, down to there, and then straight into the gully. So there's no blockage. You can see that's dripping out as well. So yeah, not quite sure. There doesn't seem to be a split joint or anything like that either. Everything seems to be glued nice and tight. So yeah, a bit of a strange. We'll clean out the condense trap and then see if maybe that was blocked and it was overflowing or so. Yeah, I mean, even inside, this is what, 2015. That is, looks like it's brand spanking new. Bit of a dribble there from the AAV, but that wouldn't be anything to do with that much water. Hello. Yeah, and they've not lost any pressure. They've had heating hot water all weekend. So yeah, one of them ones where it's typical, isn't it? Sod's law, when you get there it's not dripping. So I'm not quite sure. Can't repair something that I can't see. Is what it is. Okay, so next job, I've got a gas safety on this one. Now you may remember this one from one of my previous videos if you watched it, where they needed an extra zone valve fitted in. So I fitted a zone valve, fitted a bypass there as well, because initially they had 2 stats, but there was only 1 zone valve there, and when they were turning on the heating for that 1 zone valve, obviously it was going everywhere. So they wanted to separate the 2 zones, so cutting a new zone valve, putting a bypass, fitting a new stat as well, fit a new wiring center as well, so they now have independent control of the upstairs and downstairs. Yeah, so today just gonna do the gas safety here. They said there's been a bit of a problem with the pressure dropping, I think once a week or once every couple of weeks, so I'll have a look at everything there. Might just be, well, I had the drain off open down there to drain the system out when I was doing the zone valve, so I'll have a look to see if that's been weeping. Looks all dry to me at the moment from here, and also it might just be that the radiators upstairs might need bleeding because I wasn't able to get into it last time because the tenants went in. So gonna get the gas safety done, then go around, have a bleed of all the radiators, make sure everything's there is okay. If it's all good, give it the seal of approval and move on to the next one. So it's a little grommet missing there, but yesterday I took out a whole lot of ideal logics from my shed, and before the scrap man took them away, pulled up all the grommets, so that's come in handy already. So unfortunately, I've About to turn off another one. So we've got the same issue here that I had on that last Ideal Logic where the gas rate was off. So this needs a full service as well. So I'm going to pop the customer, the landlord, for a full service, bring a gas valve and a burner with me, and then carry out the repairs, carry out the full service, retest it, first with the burner because that's what it was on the last one. So we'll check that first. If it's not that, I'll have a gas valve on me as well. So we'll replace that if needed. But this time, because I've experienced it on the last one, I'm more likely leaning towards a burner. So we'll do that first after we've given it a full service and then go from there. But in the meantime, yeah, it's got to go off. Right, next job, we've got a S-plan system. So the customer's saying that they've got heating, but no hot water. They did a little test themselves by turning on the heating yesterday. So this is a heating motorized valve. They opened up this one manually and they managed to get hot water because obviously when it fires up for heating, it's then going to go down the hot water zone valve as well to the cylinder and heat up the cylinder to give them hot water. What we've got at the moment is it's got a wireless cylinder stat and a wireless room thermostat, and you've got your twin channel programmer. Hot water's cooling at the moment on there. Hot water zone valve is shut, so I'm not doing anything there. I'm going to open up the wiring center, check that we've got a demand on the brown, because that will tell us that we've got 240 on the brown. That should be monitoring that over, and that will tell us if there's a fault with the zone valve, or if we haven't got 240 on the brown, then we need to start tracing back and seeing if there's a problem with one of the stats. Right, so hot water zone valve, there's that cable there, there's that brown going to, that's going up there, out. So, right, got 230 volts to the brown. That's not doing anything. So let's whip the head off and see if it's just a C spindle or if it's a synchron motor that's gone in there. Right, so I managed to get the head off. It took me a little while to figure out how this one comes off because it literally just pops off. I was looking for a little screw or spring or something, but yeah, it literally just pops off. Now that spindle there is moving nice and freely by hand, so it's not a problem with there. We've still got power on the brown. That hasn't motored over, so it's going to be the synchron motor that's gone. So get one out of the van and we'll swap that over. Van stock. That's what we want. Part center 340085. Let's get this synchron motor on it. Get the hot water back up and running. And move on to the next one. Okay, new synchron motors in there. Customer's just about to turn the power back on. Let's give that a demand. Continuous there. Let's give that manual override. Now it should be starting to motor over. No, it's not. That's very strange. We still have 230 there. Ah, it was the other one.
The other one, was it?
The other one. Right, now that's motoring over. Yep, pumps come on.
Yeah.
Cool, perfect. So yeah, so I thought that was for the cylinder stat, but it's not. That's for the room stat. That's the one for the cylinder stat. So click that one on, and now it's all working. Had me second guessing myself for a minute, thinking I'm going wrong.
Thank you very much.
No worries, it's all working, and we are good to go. Right, just had a bit of lunch in the van. Excuse the glare. It's actually turned out to be a glorious day today. Started off about 5 degrees this morning, and now, well, the van's showing what, 22 degrees. It's not actually 22 degrees, I think it's probably about 14, 15 degrees, but it is hot in here. Now, don't shoot me people, but I'm watching a Sparky while I'm having my lunch. Good old Nick Bundy. Yeah, he's helped me out a lot with getting my YouTube channel up, showing me a few tips and tricks. So yeah, big thanks to Nick for that. About to go in here. Next job, we've got a leaking boiler. Let's go and see what's going on. Right, next job, I've got a Worcester. So customer had a problem with a leak from a flat above. So it's all sort of affected around here and a bit of a hole up there. The leak's been sorted. So that was coming from under the sink from the flat above. But what they're saying is every time they were turning the boiler on, it's stripping out the electrics. So they've had a sparks around, it's taken the fuse out, and now the electrics are back and that's all working. So I'm going to take the case off, see if there's any water damage inside, see if there's any of the main components that have been affected by it and that's causing it to short out. We'll pop the fuse back in, we'll turn it on, see what it does, and then go from there. Right, so visually, can't really see any real water damage inside the boiler. It's possible that it's all probably dried up and that's just a bit of dust on there. That's probably come from up there. Inside, nothing really there. Right, this fuse, okay, I don't know if you guys can see that on camera, but the fuse is gone as well. So I'm gonna pop to the van, get some more 3-amp fuses, and then turn them on. Well, turn the boiler on and see if it trips. And if it does trip, I'll start disconnecting the components and see what's actually causing it to trip. Right, got myself a load of new fuses, got some 3-amps, got some quick blow fuses as well, just in case. Let's just test one of these. Right, that fuse is good. So let's pop that into there, pop that in and we'll come back. Right, new fuse is in. Power's on there. Let's turn the boiler on. Nothing. Right, now this isn't a surefire way of testing, but okay, nothing on there. Maybe it's tripped on the consumer unit, so let's turn that off again. Turn that off again. So where's your fuse board?
It's in the cupboard, but I'll move those.
Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, so on the consumer unit, this side of the RCD is tripped, so that's the shower, the cooker, the water heater, which is going to be the boiler. So let's flick that on. Okay, so that's on now. Now let's try this again. So power on from there, and nope, nothing. Let's see, is that tripped? Right, that's tripped that again already. So let's now turn that off. Turn that off. Pop that back on. And then let's just turn the spur on and see if that trips the RCD or not. Okay, that's tripping the RCD straight away. So it's possible that it's going to be the spur maybe. Right, changed over the 2 fuse spurs. That's the 2 old ones. So one was for the immersion, one was for the boiler. Right, let's go and pop the RCD on. Right, flick that on. Let's try and pop that on. See if the RCD remains on. No, still tripping the RCD. Right, so that's telling me, because the power's off from there at the moment. So there's going to be a problem with the electrics somewhere further down the line. Okay, so I've, just to double check, I've removed the power cable from the boiler itself to make sure that it's not going to be the boiler. Let's try the immersion. So if I flick the immersion on, right, stays on. But if I flick that on, so there's nothing connected on there. That's tripped again. So either there's a break in the cable. Let me try doing continuity checks. See if there's a break in the cable from there to there somehow that's causing an issue. Right, what I've done here is I've disconnected the live earth and neutral from the boiler side, linked out the live and the earth, and I'm just going to do a continuity check between here and there with this old dinosaur Fluke 73. So let's make sure. Yep, that bleeps there. Put that down there. Right, so between live and earth. Okay, so we've got continuity there. That's dead. Okay, so we've got continuity there between live and earth. Let's do. So now I'm just going to test neutral and earth. Yep. Neutral and earth bleeps. Let's just check live and neutral. Right, let's check live and neutral now. Okay, so we've got continuity all throughout, but as soon as I turn that on, even with everything disconnected here, so I'll even take everything out. So live, earth, neutral, everything's free, everything's separate at the moment. I think the fuse, yeah, the fuse is still left in there. So right, if I flick that back on, switch this on, it shouldn't trip because everything's free there, but that trips. Now, I'm not a Sparks, but as far as I know, the reason why RCD trips is usually because there's an earth fault somewhere. So this is where my part comes to an end, because I've disconnected everything from the boiler. So it can't be the boiler because there's nothing even connected at the boiler. I've changed the switches over, it's still tripping. And as far as my knowledge takes me, the reason why the RCD is tripping is because there's an earth fault somewhere, possibly on the cable between there to the boiler. So it's going to need a Sparks to investigate further, but it may need a new cable run from this switch to the boiler. That might solve it. Let's see. Right, I've just had a complete brain fart. It's not a combi boiler, is it? It's a system boiler. What do we have when we have a system boiler? We have a wiring center. So let's do some tests on this. So we've got our permanent live supply coming into the wiring center here. So I'm gonna firstly disconnect the cable coming into here, the live cable, turn it on again, see if that trips it. Then at least we know that this cable is, actually no, we know this cable is fine. I'm gonna disconnect the zone valve first. So I'm gonna undo all the cables from the zone valve, turn it on, see if that does it, because this zone valve here, even though with the power off, that's still loose. So obviously the zone valve is probably knackered anyway, but let's see if we can find out if it is the zone valve, or potentially got an old school Danfoss programmer, which could also be at fault. But having had a look at the condition of all of this, I think it might be the zone valve. Let's try that. Right, as I'm undoing the wires from here, this neutral is just broken off, but I can't see where it's broken off from. This brown is broken off here, that's in the switch live. That's got to be coming from there, because that's going to be going back to the boiler. So that's probably going to be our switch live from the cylinder stat, which is, no, hang on. No, that's our switch live to cylinder stat. That's coming from there. So that's the switch live to cylinder stat. That's got to be the switch live back to the boiler. So has that broken off, or has that been cut deliberately? Because there's no other neutral here. Right, I'm not going to start connecting stuff up where I'm not sure. I'm going to have a look to see where that's going to, because we should have, from the switch live, yeah, we should have the cylinder stat and then the boiler switch live. There's no need for a third one, so perhaps that wasn't broken, perhaps that's been cut previously. Right, I'm going to carry on disconnecting the zone valve and then test it again. Right, we're getting somewhere. Power's on from there. RCD hasn't tripped. Disconnected the zone valve completely from there. Power's back on in there, and where's my volt stick gone? Again, I know this isn't exact way of testing, but right, I've got power there, and right, boiler power's on. Right, let's just make sure RCD hasn't tripped again. No, RCD is still on. Okay, so looks like it's a faulty zone valve that's caused it, because now everything is staying on. The only thing I'm not sure about is where that came from, whether that actually broke off of there or not. So I'm gonna trace that cable back here, see if I can find out what's going on, and we'll get this zone valve replaced as well in the meantime. Right, so just preparing to change the 3-port valve, and I've noticed, if you have a look, and just get the light in front of it, this is an old style 3-port valve. So you've got the male lines going into the body, whereas the new style ones, they're all one piece. So when you line them next to each other, they're different sizes, because this one's smaller. So I've got no play in the pipework there, because that's going to the concrete. I'm not gonna risk disturbing that, because that's going into the cylinder connection. That side, there might be a bit of play, but I doubt it, because that's then wedged right next to the metal frame there. So plan is, I'm going to try and change the guts of this one. With the guts, luckily, hopefully this time it should work, because it is Honeywell for Honeywell. So we'll take those guts out, replace with these guts, so I don't have to disturb any of the connections there. And then we've got the new head, which I've just taken off of it. We'll wire that back in. I've also got a fan PCB. So when I powered it on, we had power going to the fan, but the fan wasn't spinning. So I've got a fan PCB, so we're gonna try and replace that, and hopefully it's just a fan and the rest of the boiler starts working. Otherwise we'll have to then investigate a little bit further, but hopefully this will sort it out. Right, so change the guts over there. That's moving nice and freely now by hand. There's the old one. So luckily, because it was Honeywell for Honeywell, I managed to just change the guts over because I wasn't going to get any play on that pipe work. I did wire in the new 3-port head first and power it on to make sure it didn't trip, and it didn't before I went through all this saga. That's fine. That brown, well, that live that was coming off of there, which I thought was cut off there, I've opened that up in there. It's cut in there as well. So I think that brown and the blue that I found earlier, they were just cut. So boiler is back up to pressure now. So we've got about 1.5 bars there. That 3-port valve, nothing's leaking from there. I've changed the O-ring that came with it as well. So I'm going to fit the head back on there, and then I'm going to change the fan PCB on the boiler, fire it up, and because right now I'm getting power to the fan, but the fan's not spinning. So I'll put this all back together, sort the fan PCB out, and see what happens. Right, so I've just got the fan cover off here, and if you look closely there, you can see there's burn marks on the fan PCB where it's short-circuited. So highly likely that it's just a PCB, because the impeller, that's spinning quite freely. So I've had it before where the whole impeller is seized, and in that case you've got to replace the whole fan. But in this case it looks like we should get away with just changing the PCB. Right, that's the old PCB. Let's put the power on. Should get the fan spinning. Where's my volt stick? Still nothing. Let's put into service mode. Nope. Fan's not happy. What can I say? I'm this close to being defeated. There's a lot more to this job than meets the eye. So, I've got a new fan. It's still not doing anything. When I try and flick the programmer on, it's tripping the RCD again. So now it needs a new programmer. It's almost 7:30. I'm going to come back tomorrow, fit a new programmer there. Now, the reason why I'm invested in this job and the customer's happy for me to carry on is because the problem came from the flat above. So it's going to go through insurance. So to a certain degree, I've got an open budget. But at the same time, I'm trying to do things methodically as much as I can. Why I didn't check the programmer? Why didn't I check the programmer? Okay, it's fine. I'm going to come back tomorrow. I'm going to change the programmer for a twin channel one. And then we're going to do more tests on the boiler and try and get to the bottom of this, because I will not be defeated. I will not be defeated. I've invested so much time into this job. I will not be defeated. How are we doing, everyone? So what's the day today? It's Tuesday today. I've done a couple of jobs this morning already. I wasn't able to film it because the customers, they didn't really want me to do it, so it's fine. It was nothing really interesting anyway. I had to remove a gas fire and just cap the gas pipe to it. The next job was a gas safety. I had to ID the cooker. Safety devices were failed. The flame was basically lifting. The cooker was about 18 years old anyway, so it kind of gave the customers a reason to get a new cooker anyway. Next one was another gas safety which I've done, Potterton PowerMax HE. So don't know if you guys have come across it before. It's the one where the boiler and the unvented cylinder is underneath it. Flue was going up into the loft space. It was in a block of flats and there was no keys to the loft hatch. The tenant didn't have it, the concierge didn't have it. Although everything else was fine, I had to at-risk the boiler because I couldn't visually inspect the flue. So I need to wait until I've got access to the loft hatch so I can go back up there and have a look at that. I'm back now at the ideal boiler from yesterday, the one which I had to shut down because the gas rate was about, what was it giving me, about 16 or 17 kilowatts. and it's a 30 kilowatt combi. So I've come back today, the landlord's giving me the go ahead. I'm going to give it full strip down service. Last time when I had a similar sort of situation, I changed the gas valve and the burner. I think it was mainly the burner. I've brought both with me today. First, I'm going to give it a full service, put it back together, see what it does. Failing that, I'm going to change the burner, test it again. If that doesn't do it, then I'm going to change the gas valve as well. But let's go in, let's have a look at it again and go from there. Here we are, back at this one. So, already drained it out, cleaned the filter, recharged the vessel. That's all good. Now, let's start stripping out the bad boy. I think I found our problem. Let's see. Oh, I'll probably be able to show you better once I get it out, but sometimes this light isn't as helpful. Right, so inside there, you've got the welds on the back of the burner. Don't know, can you hear that? So that's inside there. Let's see if I can get the light so you guys can see inside there. So that spring there, that little baffle plate, that should be solid. So burner is definitely at fault, so that needs replacing anyway. So we'll get a new burner out and obviously carry on doing the service, change the burner first, check it out. I think it's safe to say that's well overdue a service. So because there's quite a lot of deposits in this one, I'm gonna hoover it out a little bit with the little Regan vac that I've got, if I can get it in there, brush it out a bit, and then I'll blast it through with the Karcher again, I don't know how you say it. Taking the trap out this time, and I'm just put a little plumb tub underneath it, so don't want to get the trap all blocked up. So this should catch everything. Then I can just empty this out and I can clean the trap out separately. So yeah, just gonna go and get the little vac from the van. Gonna grab the burner from the van as well, and then do the service, put it all back together. Should be sweet. Right, I vented a couple of plumb tubs. That's looking a lot cleaner. It's just really difficult to get right into this side here, so blasted it through, I've brushed it through, I've hoovered it through, so it's a lot better than what it was before. So now let's pop the new burner on. So new burner, in case anyone wants the part number, 175571. So that's going to be the new burner. Comes with the gasket and it comes with new nuts and bolts as well for it. So we'll put the new burner back on. I'm going to give the condense trap a bit of a blast through as well, because I can use that, because we know what the ideal condense traps are. You've got to keep shaking it in order to get all the crap out. But with the Karcher, you can put it in on the inlet, blast it, and it will literally just pump all the crap out of it. So I'm going to do that outside and then put the new burner back on. What else have I got left here? Recharge the vessel, clean the burner, clean the condense trap. Yeah, do my gas rate first, because that's the first thing I want to check. Right, new burners back in. That probably doesn't help either. So give that injector a bit of a clean. What else? Fan. Probably can't see very well in the back. Yeah, I'm going to take that apart, clean the venturi. I want to show you guys how bad this burner actually was. Probably one of the worst that I've actually come across. I don't know how clearly you'll be able to see it, but right. See at the back there? Look at that weld. It's completely come away. You can actually see there where it's come away. I don't know how clear it comes up in the camera, but yeah, probably one of the worst I've come across. So good thing we swapped that out. Just going to finish this one up and then I'll let you guys know how I get on with the gas rate. Now this is my favourite part of the job. boiler's good. On to the next one. Right, back at this one from yesterday, the good old Worcester boiler that's been doing my head in. Right, so a little update. I had a message from the customer this morning saying that I'm just basically going to come back to put the boiler back together because I needed some other bits and I couldn't even put it back together yesterday. So they don't want to incur any further costs, even though it's like an insurance job. They're worried that in case the insurance company doesn't pay out. So they've asked me to basically just put the boiler back together and give them a price for a new boiler. However, the engineer in me won't allow that. So I'm basically going to work for free. I'm going to try some bits and see if I can get it running just for my own sanity to basically work out whether it's just completely kaput or if there was a way I could sort it out somehow. So that's what I'm going to try and do. Let's go and find out. Right, back at this Worcester from yesterday. So put everything back together, fan assembly, all the connections and everything I've done. What I have done today is I've put a link between LS and LR. So that's going to give the boiler a permanent life supply, because at the moment the programmer is obviously tripping out the RCD. So pop that back together. Now, if this works, then it tells me that the boiler is working fine. So let's pop that on. Let's pop that on. Okay. Boiler has got a permanent life supply at the moment on its switch live. Right, we're getting somewhere. And yesterday I did turn the gas off, so let's pop the gas back on. Come on, baby. Show me that green light. That sounded like, yes, we have flame! Yes! Yes! It's alive. She's alive. Right, so let me turn this off now because I don't want it to overheat. So what I'm going to do is with the programmer. Now the customer doesn't want to spend any more money, understandably, because there's a good possibility that we're going to be replacing this because the cold water storage tank in the airing cupboard has got massive rust spots. Let me show you on the bottom. Let me just get my phone light out. Okay, so that is all rusted at the bottom there, and that's basically an accident waiting to happen. So we have discussed the option of ripping all this out and putting in a combi here. We've already got a cold feed there. We can take a hot feed from there, come across here, and then convert this into a combi. So without spending any more money, what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the programmer and I'm going to wire the permanent lives into the commons of the room stat and the cylinder stat. So it's as if they're going to have a constant demand from the programmer, but they can turn the heating on and off via the room thermostat, and they can turn the hot water on and off via the cylinder stat. So saves them money, but keeps the heat and hot water working for now until we obviously book in the date to get this done. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first. Right, boiler is working, but I think at this point I've got to call it a day. I think I'm out of my depth here, because what's happening now is I've tried loads of different stuff. I've disconnected the old programmer as well, because every time that was getting demand, it was tripping it out. I tried to link the permanent lives into the common for the cylinder stat. I've removed the cylinder stat as well because I thought that was tripping it out. In the end, what I found was I linked permanent live to switch live, which currently I've put in an earth terminal because I was doing a continuity check. Let me put that back together and I'll explain exactly what I was doing. Right, okay, back again. So this is our switch live. Disconnected the orange from it, and I've put a link between permanent live to switch live because it kept tripping out every time a demand was coming on. However, when I linked it out, the LS and LR at the boiler, it fires up, it gets in demand, it recognizes it, it doesn't trip out. But every time you put 240 onto the switch live from here to the boiler, it trips out. What I also did is I found a little blank under the boiler here So we've got our two black cables, they are our switch live. I've confirmed that's the switch live because what you saw earlier, I'd linked the switch live to the earth and I did a continuity check and I got a bleep here, so that confirms that's our switch live. I even disconnected the boiler end of the switch live because that cable is basically running up into that channel, coming out and into the boiler. I removed that from the terminal block, so we literally just had that terminated into nothing. But every time I was putting the power on, it was stripping the RCD. Now, like I said, I'm not an electrician. If there's any sparks watching this, let me know what it could be. But this is where my bit really does come to an end, because I'm got 240 on the switch live, it's tripping it out. But when I just link it out in the boiler, it's fine. So we know that the boiler's fine, 3-port is fine, the external controls are fine. It's a problem with that cable. Now I don't know what that is, so if anyone can shed some light on it, please do, because although we're going to be looking to rip this all out and put a combi in anyway, that'll be really good if someone can tell me what is causing this problem and how to potentially overcome it in the future, if there's something that I can do. But yeah, I think this is electrician's territory, so I'll show you anyway. So let's pop the RCD on. So I pop the RCD on, turn the power on, you're going to see the boiler flash on and off. There you go, that's gone off. And that's stripped the RCD. Now if I'm going to disconnect that, I'm going to link it out in the boiler again, or actually I'm going to link it out down here. I'm going to link it out here, I'm going to put a permanent live into there, remove this and just see if that gets it to fire up. Right, RCD's back on there. Now what I've done here is I've removed the switch live from the terminal block that was here, and I've moved the switch live from here into the permanent live. So now this should stay on. So if I pop that on, boiler stays on, and in a moment there we go. We've got a flame. So everything is working from there to the boiler. The problem is literally this switch live cable from here to there. And that, people, is where the story ends. Who knows?